Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for frame rate is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Frame Rate is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now absolutely free at MailRoute.info.
Come da porta picchita va bene, si tu la parla miezza americano, quando si fa l'amore sotto la luna, come da bene in cave di I love you, papà l'americano.
It's time for Frame Rate. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Ryan Rushwood.
And this is the show where we take some frames from wherever they come from, television, movies, web, and we rate the crap out of them.
We can't start a show without saying it's where we rate the frames. It's a weakness that we have.
I tried to shake it up. I tried to change it a little bit.
Right, but eventually you came back. It's like you got a couple beers in you and you ended up calling back that same line.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm coming back. I'm going to use that line again. We rate the frames. We always rate the frames.
That's why it's called Frame Rate. It's in the name.
So that opening video it's a little bit old. It came out a couple of months ago, but I was surprised that all of the links I found, none of them were over 100,000. At first, watching it, I couldn't even understand what it was because their faces were so still. It looked like they were floating, or I couldn't tell what was going on.
Yeah.
It turns out that is a couple that does like river dance stuff. They have a bunch of other videos where they're doing crazy foot jumping, tap dancing stuff. And they choreographed, and I'm sorry for the audio listeners, all that tapping you were hearing were their fingers dancing on the hard table. I liked that one. I thought that was good.
Yeah, it was quite compelling. No, I mean it. I know it sounded so disingenuous, but I did like it. I thought it was pretty cool. Shall we just move right into the big story then?
Yes, absolutely. It's time for the big story. What are the newsies? Dateline 2010.
This just in, the big story.
It's sort of underwhelming. I love it, though. All right. Walking Dead's Robert Kirkman announces writing staff changes. Well, he doesn't announce them. He reacts to them because it hit the web, right? That they're firing all the writers. And Kirkman said, calm down. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure they have a plan. And obviously, from what I've heard on the outside, it sounded like they're pretty much just formalizing what they had decided to do anyway. And as far as, because a lot of shows have a bunch of different guest authors behind them. And but it's just weird to hear simultaneously biggest show in history for cable television from 18 to 49-year-olds, firing entire writing staff. I mean, it's just
yeah.
That shocked me.
So here's what they say. Deadline.com reported that executive producer Frank Darabont had fired the entire writing staff, including executive producer Charles Chick Egley. And what Robert Kirkman says is that Egley is a high-level television writer. They brought him on Walking Dead with the idea that Frank was going to work on the first season and then go off and do movies. And it turns out that that's not going to happen. Frank's going to stick around on the show, and Chick didn't want to be second in command because he's used to being the top dog. You got two top dogs. You don't want them both fighting all the time to be in charge. So he decided to go off and do something else. And Kirkman says it's not a big deal. and that not all the writers are gone. They may keep some at freelance. It's just the way business is done in Hollywood. When you let that executive producer go, and then some of the people go with him, you've got to restructure your writing staff. But they are committed, and Kirkman's still on board. I think that's the most important thing. They're committed to a good storyline.
Yeah, I don't see Kirkman giving up the project anytime soon, especially when he seems very confident that they understand his voice and they understand what he's going for. Although it sounds like from other interviews he's done, he answered some fan questions. One of the quotes, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but essentially his biggest gripe with the first season of The Walking Dead, you got a guess? You have a guess?
Kirkman's biggest gripe with the first season of The Walking Dead was not enough zombies.
No. That they didn't kill off enough major characters. Like that's
absolutely. It's one of my gripes. I mean, we haven't actually talked about the finale. We really kind of raked the last 20 minutes of the penultimate episode over the coals. What did you think of the finale?
Okay, so and we should go ahead. We're going to take. We'll explain more in our letters, but we're going to go to spoiler level alert orange, possibly red at this point.
Yeah, for sure, because we're going to talk about the finale of Walking Dead, and you cannot adequately talk about it without talking about what happened.
Spoiler alert orange, and you know what? I'm going to double down with pressing the Inception button.
I'm gonna triple down with pressing this button.
Oh, yours is so much better than mine. You totally win.
Joshua Caleb, a fan of the show, sent in part of that clip there.
Thank you, Joshua Caleb.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, full on talking about the Walking Dead. I'm going to go second because I have some very interesting opinions to me. But you go first.
I'm going to go third. Oh, wait, we don't have anybody to go first. All right, here's what I thought. Very let down with the same thing Kirkman was let down with. Certain characters should be dead now. Other characters, like the urban planner that stayed behind, I didn't even realize she was a regular. So when she decided to stay back at the end, I didn't care a whit.
Yeah, because she was wearing a red shirt.
I knew for certain that Andrea wasn't going to stay behind. Even if I hadn't read the comic book, I know she's too big of a character, right?
To be honest, when Andrea acted like she was going to stay, I was full on like, wow, this will be a very ballsy thing if they full on say, guess what? This is not going to be anything like the comic book for this reason from this point on. And then the moment Dale made a play like, well, I'll just sit here with you, I was like, all right, well then forget
that's
it.
Gonna be
She's obviously
exactly.
going to
And the whole CDC thing was an interesting diversion from the comic book story, but now that's over. And it's all bets are off where we're headed next. And Shane is still alive.
I'm okay with that because maybe it's one of those things where it's like anybody who's read the first few episodes of The Walking Dead knows what happens to Shane. And I think that drawing it out might be an okay thing. Justin and I really got into it last night. Here's the thing. This was my least favorite of all of the Walking Dead episodes so far, and that's not to say
it wasn't
I hated
paced
it.
well. It didn't have good storytelling. There were cheesy lines. Everything was expected. They brought you up too fast and then brought you down too fast. It's like they rushed it.
I don't know if they rushed it or not. I'll tell you this much: it did not play to its strengths. The Walking Dead is strongest when it's a believable world. That with believable characters and agonizing situations, oh yeah, and there just happens to be zombies. That's not that. This was an Outer Limits episode. Yeah. This was really bad CGI. I mean, you could tell they ran out of money for the explosion. And I don't know if you watched it in high def or not, but the explosion at the end, I was very disappointed in.
Oh, I thought someone had just put their lighter behind them as they were walking away. I didn't realize that was the explosion. My mistake.
It was a little bit silly. And again, I'm not going to fault that because there's a lot of shows. I loved the Outer Limits back in the day, but you knew that that's one of the things you ran into to production limitations. And this was a case where it broke my heart for a story that had been nailing it on character development, nailing it on the twists, nailing it on the believability of the world, to all of a sudden spend a whole, they're in some magical sci-fi thing with a talking robot computer that
and they explain the entire virus outbreak, which is something that is irrelevant in the book, and rightly so. You wonder, but you never know what really happened. And that adds to the suspense. That adds to the tension of the world that's now been taken away.
Yes. Okay. And again, now, here is, having said all that, I want to dial it back. I mean, I'm very disappointed in the episode. I don't want to say disappointed. It was my least favorite, but here's the other thing. TV speaks a different language from comic books. And there are certain things that TV are used to, and you need to spell out when you're not going to follow those rules. And this was Justin Robert Young, my co-host on NSFW's very good point. He said that they needed to tell the audience that help will never arrive. And that's what this episode was about. And knowing that it's important to say that and to make people believe it, that it's like, this is it. This is the world that they're living in, and that's the end of it. I understand the need for it. It was just not my favorite episode.
Maybe a ham-fisted way of doing it, right? I mean, they kind of said, we're going to just take essentially one episode to tell you this, because it's the last bit of one episode and then a majority of another episode. And just, that they're not going to all be locked in there. It's like there's too many things that you're like, well, this isn't really that tense because I know they're going to escape. I know they're going to get out of the CDC. I just don't know how. But
and it's beyond that. It's also there's a forced tension that you don't believe in, and there's forced surprises. I mean, did you not instantly call it when he says, it's an exceptional brain? I mean, you're like, oh, I get it. It must be, a loved one who got killed.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and then later, like, that was your wife, wasn't it? It's like, come on, man, come on.
How'd you guess?
But having said all that, there was really only one true surprise in the whole thing, and that was how they got out of the locked doors. That was a neat moment. And the one moment that I do want to talk about, and this is, maybe we should upgrade to spoiler alert red on this, but that moment when the doctor leans over and whispers something to Rick, and you get a look on his face. Justin's theories, where he thought it was either, this is red alert, we're at red alert spoiler. Either it's the realization that the revelation in the comic book that she's pregnant, or it's the revelation in the comic book that anyone who dies comes back as a zombie, whether it's them or not, right? Whether they're bitten or not.
It's not the second one. That's obvious. I think we all expect that. That's not a big. In fact, I'd be very disappointed if they're like, and here's what he whispered to me: anyone who dies comes back. Real, okay, maybe that wasn't true. Maybe it wasn't, but that's not a big shocker. The shocker, like you said, spoiler alert level red, is that she's pregnant. That's a shocker at this point.
Try this on for size, though. My wife Bonnie had a out of left field theory.
Okay,
and the more I think about it, it'd be really cool if they did something with that. They spent all this time setting up in the opening scene where Shane is listening to the heart, and he's like, and he makes a big deal talking to Lori.
By the way, just a small diversion there. Horribly trained in first responder, that sheriff's deputy. You don't listen to somebody's heart like that. You palpate the artery right here. Then you know whether he's dead or not. Then you don't leave your guy to be eaten by zombies. And then you don't get in trouble for saying he's dead.
But the point is, like, they went out of their way to say twice that he was convinced that his body was dead, because he said you see that scene where he's listening.
Because I slept through emergency
when he's talking
response.
To Lori, and he swears up and down that Rick was dead, and then but okay, so then all of that, and then you have this moment of everyone gets their blood test, and this guy who's an expert in whatever the zombie virus is whispers something in Rick's ear that clearly punches him in the gut. Wouldn't it be interesting? And I don't know where they would go with it. It would be a radical departure from everything that made the comic a success, but it's almost as though they laid everything out to indicate that he has some kind of mildest form of zombieism ever or something.
Who, Rick?
Yeah, that's what they acted like. They acted like he was dead and then woke up.
You're a zombie. You're a zombie.
You're a zombie.
Thought you should know. What? That's a good call. That would be surprising. It would fit the bill. It would shock me. It would send me over the top. That would be a really cool plot twist. My honest opinion here, Brian, is that your wife, Bonnie, is a better writer than these guys, because I don't think that's where it's going. I really don't. I think that would be really awesome if that's where it ended up. I think that's a really cool twist. Yeah.
And it's not the case, but watch the episode with that in mind, and you notice there's like 3 moments throughout the whole show that they clearly hint or indicate or so much stuff would just fit in neatly with that. That's all I'm going to say. All right,
I think it's a safer bet on the pregnancy though. So.
Yeah.
We also, Kirkman has, we can go back to spoiler level orange. Kirkman has said we will definitely see Merle again.
Yes. Well, he says we'll definitely see Michael Rooker again, but we can assume that
we'll see Michael Rooker playing like 7 different parts.
Exactly. We see him with a wig on, and he's playing
the old lady at the gas station. Oh,
exactly.
Now he's playing the young man who's playing basketball out of the court.
So look, it's a great article. The Robert Kirkman is such a great guy because he does not shy away from talking directly to the fans. He doesn't buy into any of that corporate speak. None of that. We're very excited about this season's opportunities for synergistic enthusiasm between brand values. I mean, he's a guy who
the efficiencies we've leveraged this year in The Walking Dead. Yeah, nothing like that.
Exactly. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He's an excellent mouthpiece, and he knows how to play the game. Definitely read the article with him answering.
Wait, you just said he's so non-corporate, and then you called him a mouthpiece who plays the game.
Well, no. It plays our game, plays the fans' game, not the.
Okay,
not the
all right. I just wanted to give you a chance to clear that up.
No, he's on our side. He's one of the good guys.
Yes, absolutely. No, I agree. I knew I could see it coming in the chat room. Oh, so he's a mouthpiece, huh? No,
Brian says he's a corporate shill. All of a sudden, it's all over Twitter.
Exactly.
Elchwood, quote, Robert Kirkman's just a giant corporate shill.
Okay, so after all of this critique, I will say I still think Walking Dead, all 6 episodes as a series, best thing on television this year. Even with the disappointment at the end, I think it's the best thing that's been on television this year.
I am going to disagree. I like it a lot, but have you watched Breaking Bad?
I knew you were going to say that. No, I haven't.
He's got a point.
With that caveat that I have not watched Breaking Bad,
right,
and I'm a horrible person.
Let's take a moment, and I'm going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to jump ahead to something that we had originally planned to talk about in Tube Tops, but they did a big announcement at the end of The Walking Dead. AMC is going to run the entire series of Breaking Bad in order, 2 episodes every Wednesday from now on to get you all the way caught up on the episode. The first episode of Breaking Bad is one of those that just punches you right in the gut.
Worst timing ever. I have no time this week. I mean, I can DVR him though.
Well, yeah,
DVR
definitely
the whole
DVR.
marathon.
Definitely DVR it because I love what they're doing. I love that they get that it's a set of books sitting on a shelf somewhere and they need to rope more people in. So they're giving people the opportunity. They're making a big deal. They're not acting like these are dirty reruns. Reruns used to be a bad word that meant like, we couldn't have any good stuff, so we're showing you old crap again. They're framing it correctly when they say you have the opportunity now to get the experience that everyone else, like psychos like me, are talking about. So start with the beginning, and I challenge all of our viewers at home, all of our listeners at home, take the Breaking Bad challenge with me. And to be honest, it's only going to take one night of viewing. You watch the first 2 episodes, that's 90% of the experience.
This is just so backwards, though. This is so backwards to be like, hey, we have these serial dramas that you can't jump in the middle, and so we're going to run a marathon on TV. You've got freaking websites. You've got Netflix. You've got Hulu. Put the whole darn thing up there and monetize it. You'll get tons more people watch it because they won't have to sit down and DVR it. They won't have to make time to watch it. You make a big deal about it.
This is a internet people versus normal people thing. Internet people, we've had a decade of being accustomed to watching whatever we want when we want it, whether it's legally or illegally. The vast majority of television viewers, well over 90%, still have the old-fashioned sit down and what's on the TV experience. Even DVRs are a tiny fraction of total TV viewing.
Actually, DVRs are up very much. Actually, DVRs are becoming common. But it's to your point that DVRs, which have been around for a decade, are now just becoming majority.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I bought a TiVo in 1997, 98, right?
Yeah.
And it's like just now, and I'm already over TiVo. I'm over DVRs. I want everything streaming instantly now. So it's like, this is like normal people are just now getting into it. And plus, a lot of people are not in a position to go.
Put it on the web and do your marathon for the people who don't live on the web yet.
Well, I just think people,
no, I don't know. Is it? Maybe it is. Maybe I should eat my words.
Well,
Right now.
you're checking. You check that right now. But the point is, this is good. The normal public, the normies out there in TV land, need to have baby steps taken for them, and anything that gets them to watch episodes a bit at a time, because you run into a ritual. I remember in college, it was always at midnight was when the reruns of Star Trek: The Next Generation came on, and it was always like, oh, good, it's time for that thing that I do every single night and watch Star Trek. And there's nothing wrong with that, with doing that with Breaking Bad. And if it gets more people into the story, I'm totally cool with it.
I just think that you get more people into the story if you actually make it available in more places. I've been thinking about this more and more lately. It's just how idiotic it is to say, our business model wants to limit the number of people who watch our content. We want to put it in fewer places, because that's really ensures creativity is in demand.
You will never get me to defend the old way of thinking.
Oh, here,
that's what this was an attempt to do.
AMC TV has season 1, episode 1, the pilot of Breaking Bad, and that's it. So you can watch the first episode and then just be left adrift.
Well, did you check on Netflix? Netflix instant streaming?
No, I have not checked in all the other places, but just AMC should put it on their own website. You can definitely
get the DVDs on Netflix and have them delivered to you. So it's like there's already been a way to watch the whole thing straight through.
All right, I think we should have done this actually a few sentences ago, but we need to bring us back to spoiler alert green.
Yes.
To let people know it's safe to watch.
Okay.
Once again, we're not going to have any major spoilers. Spoiler alert.
We don't have like a fairy sound effect, like twinkling, like when it's okay to go back.
And just to run Jason ragged, it's time for another big story.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
Stop everything. Tire of that.
I love it. George Lucas plans to resurrect dead movie stars, says Gizmodo.com. Is this some sort of Frankensteinian plot? Is this some sort of zombification? What is this about?
I don't know that this could be a worse PR decision for George Lucas. For somebody who already has a reputation for treating his characters or his actors like robots, like mannequins, to be manipulated around, who actively loves the idea of doing everything on green screen so everything can be moved with mouse clicks, to go around and purchase the rights to dead actors for their likenesses, probably not the best PR thing. However, this is a guy who mints money. He's got a money-making machine in his back pocket at all times. I'm not going to say it's not going to make him a ton of money. I'm not going to say that we can't have awesome art come to it. But the article says, according to Mel Smith, friends of George Lucas and director of Radioland Murders, the creator of Star Wars, is buying up the film rights to dead actors. He said that Lucas plans to resurrect them in future movies using 3D technology. George has been buying up the film rights to dead actors in the host of using computer trickery to put them all together. So you'd have Orson Welles and Barbara Stanwyck alongside today's stars. Allow me to speak for the entire internet as we give a collective...
And this just in from Slash Film. George Lucas not actually planning to digitally revive deceased movie stars. Here comes the blanket denial from Lucasfilm. This is a false rumor, unlike those true rumors. The company says whether this was a spiteful bit of commentary from Mel Smith or a joke taken out of context, it was also the best piece of international publicity Mr. Smith has done for himself in recent years. That's not a quote. This is a false rumor is the only quote from Lucasfilm. The rest of that is from Slash Film. But Lucasfilm denies it.
Here's the reason this took off, this rumor, is because, number one, that was the right face to put on who might do this kind of thing. But number two, this is inevitable. This is going to happen. And we don't have to like it. We already have it. We already saw Fred Astaire dancing around with a vacuum in an advertisement.
We've got Tron Legacy coming out. It's not a dead actor, but you've got a young Jeff Bridges playing alongside an old Jeff Bridges.
Which is revolutionary and awesome. And to be honest, let's say you were going to beef up or fix aspects. Let's say you were going to reboot the Star Trek or Star Wars franchise. I wouldn't mind seeing Alec Guinness completely CG, completely with his voice and his actions recreated in a new movie. I mean, that would be kind of cool. There's a way to do it and you would like it. But meanwhile, we're also horrified by this going back to the well of squeezing what already works, wringing more money out of the dead. I think just creeps us out.
I remember when we were doing frame rate back in 1987 and the first colorization processes were coming out and we were talking about that. Remember those shows?
Dude, I was not on board. I was not for that.
But I was.
I
was always like, you know what? They're not getting rid of the black and white versions. It's not like you don't have them anymore. You just also have a color version that you can enjoy and see what it would look like. It's an experiment. It's cool. That's the way I feel about this. It's not like they're killing them again. It's, let's try it. Why not? Let's see what happens. Let's see if it works. The idea of having like movie stars from many different eras playing alongside each other, like a colorized 3D animated Betty Davis alongside, I don't know, Liz Taylor in her prime, acting together with Gwyneth Paltrow in a rom-com. Does that not sound brilliant to you, Brian? Have I not spoken right to your heart?
It depends on who I'm watching the movie with. If Bonnie's into it, then no, it's adorable.
Okay, so that's a horrible example of how to use this technology. But you got to admit, like the idea of being able to bring back legendary actors like Humphrey Bogart and having them play alongside current legendary actors, like maybe a Brad Pitt in a mystery sort of situation.
But you're assuming that even a poor shadow of their talent would come along with them. And we already had that. Didn't they take the face of like Sir Richard Burton for Sky Captain of World of Tomorrow or Orson Welles or someone for the giant floating head thing?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason. And it was just weird and it was very awkward, those scenes, because they took out of context things that happened to fit the story and sort of jammed it in there.
Well, but I think the technology is improving a lot. So I think it's theoretically possible. You can take, they have this technology that Google just bought that you can just speak and then it will take your voice, chop it up into the component phonemes and be able to create a fluid voice that sounds like a normal human being.
That's awesome.
Saying anything. So if you can do that, all you do is you run through the entire dialogue of Humphrey Bogart, and then you can have Humphrey Bogart say anything. It's not this weird like, oh, we had to take a word from here and a word from there. It's just synthesized.
Wow. That's awesome. And scary. And awesome.
I like the idea of a reboot of Star Wars. It'll never happen until George Lucas is dead. But I think
I disagree.
This combined with all kinds of other... I think George Lucas, if this were true, George Lucas would use this to create sequels that Alec Guinness is in or something like that. I don't think he's going to reshoot Star Wars all over again.
And this idea of a Star Wars reboot came to us from somebody who sent us an email at framerateshow@gmail.com. And the moment I read it, I realized it was 100% right. George Lucas has been trying to remake Star Wars since the early 90s, going back and adding these ridiculous CG scenes that make no sense and changing stuff up so Greedo shoots first and all this stuff. He's begging for a chance to remake Star Wars all over again.
Okay. You know what? I will give you that. I will give you that. He has been, and I could see him use this kind of technology, were this true, which it's not, to recreate Star Wars the way he wanted to, make it fit more in that Phantom Menace feel that he wants. I think that's a horrible idea, but I could see him want to do that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a dark reboot. I'm talking about taking Star Wars and redoing it from scratch.
Well, but that's essentially what, did you not like Star Trek? Star Trek was a way darker, grittier, more visceral, real
and I don't think George Lucas allows that to happen. That kind of reboot.
Are you kidding me? That was always the strength of Star Wars over Star Trek. Star Wars was better because Star Wars was grittier and dirtier, and you had people chopping each other's arms off at bars.
Yeah, but George Lucas won't allow that. He's going to keep working on that piece of clay and perfect it. He's not going to start over again. And he's definitely not going to let anyone else start over again. And you're not going to get anything really different unless you let someone else take it and run with it.
Ah, that's a really good point. He does have a vice-like grip on the Star Wars universe. And people don't realize the tighter your grip, the more fans will slip through your fingers.
Wow. Whoa. Like sands through the hourglass. So are the days of our lives. Wow. You know what? Maybe like they take Shakespearean plays and then they make modern movies that are sort of loosely based. We talk about this all the time. Oh, brother, where art thou? Right? Being based on the Odyssey. Maybe they do that with Star Wars. Sort of
only what they'll do. Okay, here's what they do.
Retelling.
They do Cowboys and Indians, but it's really Star Wars.
Exactly. You're unpacking it.
See, that's what I'm doing is I'm referencing the fact that Star Wars is Cowboys and Indians.
Right. You're just it's sort of like deconstructing a food dish where they serve you like the potatoes and the clams and the cream, and then when you eat it, it tastes like clam chowder, even though it's not all put together. They deconstruct Star Wars. And they serve it out as a World War II film and a Japanese Odyssey film and it's like 3, and then at the end of the movie, you feel like you watch Star Wars.
I think that's what like Kevin Smith did in all of his movies, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be Mallrats.
Yeah. So it'll be essentially it's already been done.
Okay. Visionary.
All right, let's move on to Film Faum. I have essentially lost all respect of Adam 12 after my deconstructing Star Wars analogy.
Why? What did he say? You lost his respect.
No, he says, I have lost all respect for Ace Detect now.
Oh, what a bummer. That's all right. But I tell you who I have plenty of respect for are the fine folks over at Netflix. Do you know what's great about Netflix?
Well, the fact that you can watch lots of movies that you couldn't otherwise watch.
Instantly streaming, right? The fact that the whole library of cinema to date is available. And I think it's brilliant what they've done.
Almost. I have one movie in my Netflix queue that they don't have.
Eventually, right? Eventually, they're going to get all of them, right?
Like 3 years. Just saying.
But here's the thing: is their recommendation engine is so good at predicting what you like. You remember a while back they had the $1 million prize if you could get even a few % better in your variations on the recommendation.
Yeah, I do like that recommendation, the idea of the recommendation engine, although it doesn't always work that great.
Here's the idea I had. The problem with it is that sometimes it's good to watch something that's not right for you, something absolutely terrible.
This is what I like about movie channels, right? They're not really a good buy at all, except for that time on a Saturday afternoon when it's raining and you got nothing else to do and you just turn it on and you get sucked into some movie you never would have watched otherwise.
Exactly, right? So I was thinking, doesn't have to be now, could be down the road at some other time, but I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if there was some way to spin the giant catalog of instant streaming movies or TV shows or whatever on all of Netflix and it lands on something. And whatever it lands on, I would have to watch whatever I get and you would have to watch whatever you get. And then we could do a brief report card on how the last 90 minutes of our life went.
Oh, you're talking about Fluke Flicks.
Exactly. I put it out to Twitter. I said, like, tell me this exists. Tell me there's some way to do this. And sure enough, somebody sent over to me Fluke Flicks, which is an app for, I guess, the iPhone or whatever. And it will spin the wheel and randomly pick a movie for you. And it will... there needs to be a little bit more randomness. I mean, I love the fact that you could decide everything in offline streaming, but we got to mix it up. Are you down for that? You want to take the Fluke Flicks challenge?
You know what we should do, actually? We should do a partnership with the Film Sack podcast, because essentially what they do is they seek out bad movies and review them on Film Sack. So what we should do...
You might get a...
well, that's true. We should do this challenge. We should absolutely do this challenge. I'm totally down for this.
Because
and
you
then
never know,
we should possibly, depending on what we get, nominate it to the Film Sack guys.
There you go. That's the booby prize. If you get a terrible movie, we can pass it on to Film Sack.
We're both going to get terrible movies, right?
What? But no. Wouldn't it be great if, like, I got Gandhi, a movie that I'm told is amazing and I should watch, but I'm never ever going to sit down and watch Gandhi. I'm never going to do it. But if it happened and I was obligated, that would be serendipitous, man. It would be amazing.
Yeah. And
let's make music.
I'll get Mitchell.
PBS?
Barney, that's what I'm going to end up with right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's what I say our next big challenge should be, is the Fluke Flicks challenge. And in fact, maybe we could get some of our viewers to play along as well, where they dedicate an hour to the cause. They could send us an email telling us what movie they got and what happened when they sat through the entire thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So are we going to try to do this by next week? Oh, well, we're not doing a show next week. We should let people know that.
I'm just saying, I'm putting it out to the universe, and we'll see who's into it. And then if it,
I'm into it. I like this.
All right.
I like
if
this
you're
game.
in, I'm in.
All right. Opening in theaters this weekend, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And honestly, Prince Caspian, just not a book that works well on film. Not even one of my favorite of the whole C.S. Lewis series. This looks like it might be good. I may be being taken in by the trailer, but possibly worth your time. Don't rush out yet.
I saw the trailer came on, and the thought that popped in my head was, oh, hey, they're still making those.
I know, same here. That was actually my first thought. It was like, huh, they're going to make book 3? Huh.
Oh, hey, look at that.
I figured that it flopped so hard they wouldn't do that, but all right.
Do you want to take a look at the trailer?
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look and yeah, let me know what you think.
You have returned for a reason. You have come far. And now your journey lies beyond.
Behold our castaways, King and Queen of Narnia.
Refugee!
Your Majesty.
Where in the blazes am I?
You're on the Dawn Treader. Was it something I said? This Christmas,
Where is the source of your troubles?
enemies will unite.
It seeks to corrupt all goodness, to steal the light from this world.
The only power to stop them
That sword you carry, it must be laid at Aslan's table. Only then can their true power be released.
lies beyond Narnia itself.
Aslan's country.
Do you really believe there's such a place?
We have nothing if not belief.
From C.S. Lewis's epic masterpiece comes the motion picture event of the holiday season.
Travelers of Narnia, I am your guide.
You are most beautiful.
If it is a distraction for you, I can change form.
No.
Now is the time to be strong. Never give in.
No fear! No retreat!
The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. In digital 3D, directed by...
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, okay.
You know what? That did look pretty good.
Don't
but not
run
good.
out. Exactly. You can see seams in it though. Watching this trailer the second time, I'm like, mouse looks bad. So yeah, talking bull. Not buying it. So I wouldn't rush out and see it. I'd wait to find out.
If you are going to go
you
see
know what
it,
I think what it is I really loved the story in this book better than the Prince Caspian story. So I want it to be good. Maybe it's coloring my opinion.
I think all of these movies are for people who read the books.
Yeah, I think so.
I read the first book.
They're books on video.
Yeah. I read the first book and I enjoyed the first book and I enjoyed the first movie. Haven't watched anything more. Not really interested in watching anymore.
Yeah, so that didn't change your mind. I watching it the second time, I'm like, this isn't going to change anybody's mind.
You know what? Watching that, seeing all the swords and the medieval looking garb just made me think of how excited I am for Your Highness.
Really? That's funny.
Have you seen the trailer? For
Yeah. No, it didn't make me think of that, but that's hilarious.
Because it's a red band, it's a restricted trailer. But
yeah.
I'll be honest, I can't wait to go to the draft house, have a beer, and watch Your Highness. I think it's going to be really funny.
Also opening, Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie and the Tourist, who are strangers who find themselves unwittingly thrust into a deadly game of cat and mouse. You know, Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie could amount to something.
Those are people who are kind of famous, right?
Yeah, they've been in good movies before.
Those are money machines.
And only noting this because we've talked about the idea of taking a Shakespearean story and recasting it. Helen Mirren stars in The Tempest, a cross-gendered adaptation of Shakespeare's The Tempest.
So I guess, I don't know where we should put this, but we should go ahead and mention, I guess we're in Film right now. As you know, coming up in just another week or two, we got the Tron movie, Tron Legacy, coming out. They're doing something different with the release of the soundtrack, right?
Yeah, this is cool. So, of course, I'm
Daft Punk.
Daft Punk. Why couldn't I think of that for a second? Daft Punk doing the soundtrack. You can buy it for what is it? $5?
$4. $3.99. $3.99 on Amazon. You could get the score, and the people. What's amazing is to watch the Twitter stream of people reacting. They're like, "Look, I don't know how the movie's gonna be, but this soundtrack is freaking amazing. It's really, really good." And in fact, we started the show with the D-Rez trailer before.
Yeah. If you don't hurry, or if you're listening to this show late, it might not still be $3.99. So grab it while it's hot.
Well, it's funny because when it first happened, everyone was like, OMG, $4. And then days later, all the tweets are saying, OMG, it's still $4. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. All right, real quick before we get to Tube Tops, Frame Rate is brought to you by MailRoute at mailroute.info. Tom Johnson, friend of Leo, runs the company, used to work for Microsoft, did their hosted exchange services, then he moved on to write the ultimate spam solution. It's for companies that host their own mail. So if you or someone that helps you out hosts your mail and knows how to edit an MX record, you go to the MX record, you put in some mail route info, you get rid of the garbage and have only the good stuff sent to you. You can still go check, but they're almost never false. I haven't run into a false positive yet. I have run into one email that may have been spam since I signed up for this service back in July. And I'm not sure if it's spam or not. So how could MailRoute know? It's one of these things where I'm like, God, it seems kind of spammy, but I may have actually signed up for this at some point with this email address a long time ago, so I can't tell. So that's how good it is. That's the only thing that's slipped through. No long-term contract, month to month, or that's $2 per user per month. Or if you're a small business or you're a small family operated, you're just running it for your family, you can buy a year for $33. Unless you're listening to this show, then you go to mailroute.info and you get the discounted price of $29.70 per year. That's just under $2.50 per month. If you handle your own mail, check them out, mailroute.info.
Dude, that sounds awesome. I love the fact that it does all the work off of your computer. It's not like those local spam solutions that downloads all the junk and then scrapes off all the barnacles and gives you the good stuff. It's like you don't even see it. It all happens remotely.
No scraping sounds, no barnacles, just the emails you want to read. Mailroute.info.
That was the original title for it. Yeah. They were like, we're going to call it barnacle proof. Yeah. What does that mean?
I don't know.
No barnacles. Why are you talking about barnacles? Why are you talking like a sea captain?
Let's change it to MailRoute. All right.
All right.
On to Tube Tops. So Breaking Bad Marathon starts Wednesday. I know.
I told you we went out of order, but I was too excited. It was too perfect because you're the one who threw down the gauntlet saying best show on television, and I had to step up for.
Would you say Walking Dead is second best show on television this year?
It is certainly. All right. And wait, didn't the Lost series finale, wasn't that this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
you're right factually. I'm already on to thinking
definitely
whether that changes anything.
Definitely top 5. Walking Dead is definitely top 5 television experiences.
I'm still thinking Walking Dead in front of Lost.
What? We're just beginning?
Just for this season, not for the entire run. Okay. Just considering what's been on television this year.
You know what? I'm down with that.
All right.
Ahead of Sherlock? You like it better than Sherlock?
Ooh, but that hasn't been on television. That's been on my DVD player.
Oh, come on.
Nah, you're right. I got to put Sherlock in front of that. All right. Walking Dead just got bumped to number 2 for me.
All I'm saying is that it's hard to pick number 1 of anything because you feel this huge obligation.
Also because I have a horrible memory.
And your brain short circuits. So I like, just name 5 of the best. Yeah. And certainly I'd put Sherlock. I'd put Lost. I'd put The Walking Dead. I would put Breaking Bad, and I'm sure a million people are shouting Mad Men.
Well, and it's hard for me because I'd put The Wire, but that's not new. That's just because I watched it this year. So.
Yeah, you watched it this year. The best show of 2010 is 2003's The Wire.
The best show of 2010 for Tom Merritt is MASH. Okay, Hollywood multimedia production company Berman Braun, known in tech world for making handsome content sites. They do Microsoft's MSN portal, very designy. They have partnered with Lloyd Braun, who also ran Yahoo's media unit for a bit, and they're making a show for NBC called The Cape. It's about a good cop who is framed and has to turn himself into a crime-fighting hero to regain his old life and family. And, of course, he wears a cape.
The video trailers look awesome. The moment they show the title, the name of the show, I want to roll my eyes and burst out laughing.
Because it's called The Cape.
Well, because, yeah, it's clear they're going for a Batman Begins, Nolan-esque,
for sure.
Very visceral, realistic depiction of this kind of thing. And then you give it a cartoony name and you just feel like you're watching a cartoon.
We're calling it The Tights.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Should we show the trailer?
Yeah, we should. Do you have it all booted up? Otherwise, I could show it right now.
All right, Jason's going to roll it for us. Here you go. You decide, does the coolness outweigh the cheesiness of the name?
All right, hold on.
And roll video.
And here we go.
And go video.
You give me your soul, Vince Faraday, and I'll help you get your family back.
I know the guilty, and I will not stop till they know justice.
I think you're ready
for a cape. So there you go. It's coming January 9th. Are you ready to wear a cape?
It's like
and some
it's
tights?
like let's make a show that tries to be a success despite the fact that it's about, cartoonish comic book superheroes. And then let's title it the most cartoonish comic bookiest part of the thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's what they're going for in the show. But to me, it was incongruous.
Yeah, the tights would be the only way they'd get cheesier than that.
Medallion on My Chest is the name of the show.
Superhero.
All right. Coming out. By the way, if you don't know, io9.com does a weekly look ahead at what's on TV. They publish it every Monday. It's a great way to keep in touch with cool, geeky, sci-fi type stuff that's showing up. For instance, coming up on Tuesday night, that's tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, Sci-Fi has the Eureka holiday special called Oh Little Town, followed by a Warehouse 13 holiday special called Secret Santa. So this is kind of taking a page from what the BBC does. They often have Christmas time specials for shows like Doctor Who that only, they show out of order and they only show at the holidays. They're doing that with Eureka and Warehouse 13, and I like both those shows. So you might want to check those out.
Does that do anything for you personally? Like, oh, it's a show and it's about Christmas. I really got to make sure.
It doesn't do it to me that it's about Christmas. It does it. I do love the Doctor Who shows. The episodes is always great to be like, oh, it's so cool to get a show in the middle of winter when we don't have this show. We get dropped a little special
they do it out of season.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Cool
So Eureka and Warehouse 13 aren't airing right now. Those are summertime airings. Eureka's not coming out to the spring. So it's a little cheesy that they have to tie it in with Christmas, but it's cool that you're like, oh, we get a little special treat here while we're waiting in between seasons.
It's good. It's like that's it is the season for surprises, for it's like, oh, I didn't expect this. What an awesome gift. Thank you, Doctor Who.
Wednesday, President Obama is on Mythbusters at 9
How do you
p.m.
feel about? Does that bother you at all?
Well, what's he on for?
I don't know. I didn't see the.
He'd like them to retest the myth of Archimedes' solar ray, this time with more manpower. Yeah, I don't know.
They've done that same. Okay, you know what? You just lost me. That is the same. They've already gone back and revisited.
It's one they've already done. Yeah,
multiple times.
Yeah,
and now it's like their spit shine is like, yeah, but this time it's with the presidents.
Yeah,
the president.
I don't know.
The United States, leader of the free world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And did you catch Psych last week? Or you were not a big Twin Peaks fan?
I was not, but I know you were excited, and I have reservations about Psych. But I want to hear all about your experience.
I watched it, and I had a great time. It was chock full of Twin Peaks references. If you're a Twin Peaks fan, you have to watch it. The creators of the show obviously are Twin Peaks fans, and I almost called him Arnold Palmer, Laura Palmer's dad. Now I can't remember his name because I called him Arnold Palmer.
Just say Arnold Palmer. Just go on. It's Arnold Palmer.
Leland Palmer, the guy who played Leland Palmer, Ray Wise, is a regular recurring character on Psych. So they worked him into it. They had his hair turned from black to gray because that happens to Leland Palmer's character. They had the Log Lady had a cameo part. They had Bobby playing a character named Bobby. A lot of the characters had similar names. Audrey Sherilyn Fenn, holy cow. I mean, you can tell she's aged a little bit if you look close, but if you don't, it's like she stepped right off the set from the early 90s.
I remember thinking the same thing about Molly Ringwald when she was in The Stand.
Yeah.
After I remembered her.
So anyway, if you're a fan of Twin Peaks, go dig up a copy of Psych, either off your DVR or Friends or some other legal means. Also, Stargate Universe wrapped up with their season finale, and let me tell you, you want to talk about a show that has really done a 180. Stargate Universe Season 2, much improved. And I would say at this point, worth watching. Definitely worth watching.
So start at the beginning of Season 2, or do you even put yourself through the misery of Season 1?
Season 1 wasn't entirely miserable. It was good, but it was herky-jerky. It was like, I see where they're going. I want more. I want more. But I would say you probably could start with Season 2 and get away with it. You want to watch the pilot episode. That sets you all up. That gives you everything to know that you need to know.
Was the pilot episode good, though?
The pilot episode was good enough. And you kind of need that to really set the table. The problem with Season 1 is it doesn't develop anything all that much. So by the time you're at the beginning of Season 2, you're like, yeah, this is all the same stuff I kind of saw coming in Season 1. So you watch the pilot episode to learn how the rules of the universe. Then you could jump to Season 2 and pretty much, or maybe the cliffhanger episode from Season 1, and then go from there. Season 2, compelling storylines, great writing, good acting. So I think it was worth watching. I liked it. Good job, Stargate Universe.
All right. Awesome. Well, do you want to move on? You want to drop some Cipro?
It's time. Drop some Cipro on me now.
I was waiting for that.
We here at Frame Rate are committed to bringing you the early trends before they happen. Paid Content reports that Ryan Higa has drawn over 3.6 million views to his latest YouTube creation. Not surprisingly, his videos routinely amass cable-sized audience, but no one expect this kind of Fred Figglehorn, Justin Bieber sort of attention. So, it is a silly espionage spoof targeted at teen viewers called Agents. Billed as a film, which may sound a little strange considering it's 35 minutes long, but on YouTube, that's forever. So this is comedy getting raised to the Fred Bieber level of attention.
And do you think this is popular because this is one of YouTube's own? It seems like a lot of the YouTubers, and my assistant Chad is of the YouTube generation, and I can't quite understand the code of what makes for a YouTube success. It's like you got to be good, but not too good to where you look like you're sponsored by corporate. You know, they have to feel like they're one of your own or something.
There's an authenticity to it. It's not. It's not about the professionalism of it. It's not even about good. But I know exactly what you're saying. It's got to feel like it was made by your friends.
Yeah, it's like
who are super talented.
Right. I mean, like let's say an amazing jazz performance by a session musician where it's just note for note perfect. The guy's a legend in the real world. Maybe 5,000 views. Like that was very good. But then, like, you get some 16-year-old kid stumbling through the Mario theme and then talking about his feelings about it afterwards, 8 million views, right?
Yeah. But this is different. This is actually, like, top-notch looking stuff. Good writing, good acting. So it's it's the future of web television unfolding. You want to point at stuff and say, oh, but if we don't stop the piracy and if we give too much streaming, we won't have the business model to create the amazing shows that you come to love and enjoy. This is proving it wrong. This is undermining that right here. This kind of stuff, like the stuff from Ryan Higa.
Well, what we're seeing is with heavy-duty content creation is the same thing that already happened in music. And I talk about this with magic, and eventually it's going to bite magic in the ass as well. The level of quality it takes to really make it in music is so much because there are so many people who want to make it in music because they love the creation of it, the performance of it. There are so many people who want to be a rock star. It's a very difficult tournament to get ahead. Whereas you have something like magic where there's a barrier to entry. You have to buy the props. You have to invest the time on the skill. And there's a certain stigma to magic performances. There's not nearly as many people fighting that tournament. So it's a lot easier to get ahead. And that's part of why we see a lot of mediocre magicians making a good living. I think what we're seeing is the democratization of film-based storytelling, of video-based storytelling, because now so many kids, these kids are 16, 17 years old, and they get it. They understand the difference between a smash cut and a slow pan and setting up certain bits. I mean, it's really interesting to see what that's going to have an effect on storytelling 30 years from now.
And it's easy to fool yourself. If you are an executive in television right now, it's very easy to sit down and tear apart what Ryan Higa is doing and point out the deficiencies in it and how it's different from a real film that costs millions of dollars, and how this and that are so far apart that you can't say that this threatens that at all. But that's not the way to look at it. If you actually want to see where a trend is coming from, you compare this to what was before it on YouTube, and you look at the numbers and how they increase, and you say, look, you know, YouTube 5 years ago didn't have anything like this, and then we had The Guild came along, and Fred, and we, you know, and we're continuing to ramp up and get good quality programming that's got good writing, and it's shorter versions, and it has medium audiences, and then big audiences, and then huge audiences. Right. If you look now and pay attention, you can see the threat coming at you now, rather than be blindsided by it later.
Early on, it was just people talking to a camera about what they were up to. It's just like, we got this technology, now go, and nobody knew how to tell a story.
Lonely Girl type stuff.
And then it became about the comedy, because comedy is something that's very cheap to produce. You don't need to have, in fact, the shabbier your sets, the funnier it is. And now we're reaching that next level. The tutorials out there, when you see the stuff, you know, how to make amazing looking gunfights, the folks, our friends over at the Film Riot show you how to create Hollywood level special effects. I'm telling you, man, everyone's stealing fire. It's YouTube is the modern Prometheus. That's all I'm going to say.
Or is it actually Hulu is Sisyphus and YouTube is Prometheus? Kevin Bacon is stormed the net this week. Should we take a look at the Logitech review ad? Let it speak for itself.
Please show this, because I love this ad.
It's easy. Kevin Bacon, obviously. His best movie is probably a tie between all of them. I do a Kevin Bacon impression. This valley is just one long smorgasbord. They're under the ground. It's Tremors. It's of me and Kevin. I've never actually met him. I had it commissioned. Am I obsessed with Kevin Bacon? I don't know. Obsessed is a strong word. I think I'm a devoted fan. And you know, the Logitech review is just perfect for me, because I just type in Kevin Bacon, and it uses Google TV, finds all kinds of movies and shows and YouTube videos. So let's just say I happen to be in the mood for, I don't know, a movie about a rebellious teen who's living in a town where dancing is illegal. There it is. Let's dance! Yeah, my wife says if I watch any more Kevin Bacon, I might actually turn into Kevin Bacon.
Add Google TV to your television with the Logitech.
So there is an ad for Google TV, but hilarious.
I had the best experience possible watching this, because I didn't know any of the hype about it. Nobody forwarded it to me in a link. I think it was at a bar, and it came on, and I was totally fooled. And it's only in the last 2 or 3 seconds I'm like, that's freaking Kevin Bacon playing some goofball who's obsessed with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, no, it was pretty well done. Pretty self-aware of Kevin Bacon. Pretty good acting job, to be honest.
It fooled me.
I just noticed the Kevin Bacon as founding father picture in the background this time through. There's a ton of good stuff in the background in this.
That's awesome. Very, very well done. And I suspect the beginning of a series. My guess is Kevin Bacon was an obvious choice because of the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game. But my guess is, Tom Cruise next, and on down the line we go.
Whoever they can get. All right, let's finish up with email. You can email. Some people have said, I can't find your email address. Here it is. framerateshow@gmail.com. There you go.
framerateshow@gmail.com.
Thank you for emailing. What do we got? We have our new, we have to credit the creator of our new spoiler warning system.
Yes. Okay, here it goes. It says, hey, Tom and Brian. At least I think that's Brian. I can't tell without the hair.
Oh, your hair wasn't up last week. That's right.
Well, you can tell today, sir. It's me.
That's another part of our new spoiler warning alert system.
That's right. It's like how you can tell it's about to rain with your knees starting to hurt. Like how you can tell the spoiler's coming. It's like, oh, Brian's got his hair up. It's going to be a spoiler episode of Frame Rate. I was thinking, since there are different levels of tolerance as to what is or is not a spoiler, I thought a graded warning system a la the Homeland Security system would be good. Here are the general guidelines that I formed, listening to your opinions and the ones from the emails on episode 4. Severe, Critical plot points will destroy the experience of the viewer. High, non-critical plot points, specific events of the story which may alter expectations. Elevated, non-specific information viewers will understand while outsiders won't. Non-plot specific, guarded production information, not readily known or published. Low, promotional materials, information from commercials, trailers, and press releases. Putting the letter on pause here, it's interesting because we talked about my friend Jeff Kanata, who didn't even want to see a single trailer for Inception to get that pure experience. So in that case, I think even a low spoiler would be a spoiler for him.
And that's why we have a low. That's why we have a low system, you know, for people like Jeff Kanata, so he can know there's still a low chance of spoiler. If you want 0, better hold off.
Exactly. He gives a bunch of different examples here of how to use it, but basically he provided all of these graphic assets that we're using for the show. And thank you a million times over. Steve Conning out of Tokyo, Japan. Our show is getting watched halfway around the world. How badass is that?
That is fantastic. I love when we get listeners from all over the place because it provides better perspective on everything, and we get such great stuff created by the people who watch the show. This entire show is pretty much guided along the rails of things that people in the audience have created, from our intro to the spoiler alert warning system.
I also think that that's an internet. We talked about, you know, the generation of media being created by YouTube, but that's a little bit of what's happening right here at Twit, in that we don't have to have a focus group. We have a live finger on the pulse of what our viewers care about at all times via the chat room. And indeed, half the stuff being provided comes from them. And I suspect that, you know, as much as we giggle at the mixed mash of levels of styles for our intro videos, we love them because they came from the fans. They came from us. And I think that's what the fans like about it as well.
All right, that's it for this edition of Frame Rate. If you would like to email us and let us know what you think, Brian's really good at getting back to people. I do read all the emails. FrameRateShow@gmail.com is the place to do it. And, of course, you can find us on twit.tv/ is it Frame Rate or FR?
FR.
FR. Twit.tv/FR. Thanks, everybody.